In 2003, we recorded a series here entitled Faith in the Heartland here in eastern Iowa. We're back again. Join us outside the Friary. We're here in the beautifully restored and renovated St. Raphael's Cathedral in Dubuque, Iowa. And I'm here with His Excellency, Archbishop Thomas Zinkula, who is the Archbishop here in the Archdiocese of Dubuque. He, like me, is an Iowa farm boy, grew up in this Archdiocese. And how has that helped you in your own life and even as a role as the Archbishop, just the farming background and all the experiences you had there?
When you grow up on a farm, as you know, it forms you and molds you. Mm-hmm. You know, those early years. So I was there 18 years. You know, went to college and then home on vacations and things. And I developed a sense of God, just being out and outdoors and
right.
Working on the farm. You have a general sense of God, and it's good, it's real, but it's sort of vague, you know, and distant and abstract. So thankfully, my parents were very active in the church and in our parish, and they taught me about our faith and taught me to pray and you know, brought me to the sacraments. And so, like I always say when people ask me, "Who are you?" I'm like, I'm a Catholic farm boy.
Yes.
I mean, that's who I am at my core, right?
I'm here with my dear sister Diane and her husband Mark on their farm here in Iowa. And it was over 20 years ago that they agreed to be part of the Faith in the Heartland series that we did here in eastern Iowa. And we got to meet their 3 boys, and now they're grown and they have their own families. Diane now has 10 grandchildren, the 10th one being on the way. And she often they both take care of those children. Now, you've been here, you've been farming your whole lives. You and I grew up on the wonderful little family farm that we had, and you grew up on the family farm here in the area. How has the faith sustained you through the ups and downs of life and some of the challenges that you face? How about you, Diane?
Well, just to always remember that there is another purpose to our work, I guess. And it's just a great place to live and
to raise children,
yes,
right? So
right.
I think, Mark, you said that my mother said that to you too, that when you brought the engagement ring. Tell us that story.
It's quite a story because I dressed up as an Easter bunny to bring the engagement ring, but that is another story. But as soon as their mother saw the ring, Rose said, "Oh, a farm is such a great place to raise a family," and
right.
And it is correct. And we have been very blessed to farm all our lives, over 40 years now here, and raising a family, and it's great work and everything. But in the faith, you have faith.
Right.
Everything you do, no matter what you do, you have faith, because as good as all this as life has been, our families, what we do, and everything else, everyone we love, our friends, it's going to be better.
I'm here with Lillie Beringer from Beringer Family Farms here in Cascade, Iowa. And Lillie, I came to know about you through my sister who follows your posts, and she introduced me to you. And talk about your own growing up, your interest in farming, and that you're now a farmer, and you've taken over your family farm.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been involved on the farm from a very young age. It's something that I just have taken interest on. I'm actually the 3rd generation. So my grandpa started in the 1950s, and then it was my dad and my uncle, and I'm one of 26 grandchildren and one of 5 in my immediate family that's carrying on our family farm to the next generation.
So tell us a little bit about your operation here. You're raising beef cattle,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And what does that encompass as far as raising grains and those sorts of things?
Yeah, so we're primarily beef farmers. We have a cow-calf operation, so a couple hundred cows. That's actually what my full-time job is now, is kind of full-time cow lady. I take care of all the cows, do all the calving, check everything on pasture, rotate, that kind of stuff. And then we also finish out our home-raised calves every single year too, so they go after weaning into our feed yard, get fed the feed that we grow. So we obviously have corn and beans, alfalfa. We've done some cereal, rye, kind of a mix of that kind of stuff. I would say 60–70% of what we grow goes back into feeding our own animals, and then a little bit of it goes back just to the commercial commodity market too, because the key with farming is diversification is key. So multiple different income streams, because one market might not be good, but then the other one might be, so it just kind of carries it out. And that kind of led me to, in 2021, I launched our direct-to-consumer beef business, where we sell our home-raised animals that are born here on the farm. They don't leave the farm until they're finished, where they go to a federally inspected locker. I get them all processed into individual cuts, and then we sell them to our local community here in Iowa, but then also we ship to all 50 states every single Monday too.
The reason I came to know about you, she said, look at this post. And I said, well, who is this? Well, she just lives down the road, my sister was telling me. And it was a post about how you're going through difficulty just financially with things that were going on. But then you began to pray for God's providence. Maybe you could talk about that a bit.
Yeah, so I mean, farming is in seasons, and obviously when you're self-employed, things have ups and down valleys. And spring season, calving season is super busy, and that's where my time and devotion is like calving season. And so sometimes it's hard to then all my other responsibilities keep them in line too. And so we were kind of in this spiral of a few weeks of like, it was really heavy calving season. My beef sales and things just weren't good because I just hadn't put any time into it, you know, and I just hadn't really pushed that side of it because my time and dedication was somewhere else. But we also were having animals ready for my beef program, because that's just kind of how the cycle of the animals work. So I was having all these expenses come in, but not really the sales. And when that's what you rely on, it was just like all up, you know, kind of spiraling. And I've always had a strong faith, but you know, when you get really busy, it's really easy to also put that on the back burner too. And so I kind of just was in bed one night and I was like, God, I really need your help, you know, like, holy cow, there's all these expenses. I don't know how we're going to pay for this. Like, calving has been really difficult. I just was kind of threw my hands up in the air and was like, wow, you know, and that's just was me kind of coming back to him and being like, I really need your help. Like, you haven't been top priority lately, but here we go. And so then I kind of started consistently praying for my business, like every day. And like day 10, basically, I couldn't believe in a week's time what God had done. I had these huge sales come in that I had never came before, and things kind of started, you know, oh my gosh, this is how this is going to work. Like, but this post that I put up of basically God provides, reach out to him. I was just laying in bed, I couldn't fall asleep, and I just felt called that I needed to say something. So I just posted it real quick. Like, I typed it up in 3 minutes. I didn't even reread it, and I posted it, and I was like, I don't know what this is going to do, but hopefully it helps one person. And yeah, I went crazy. We actually, like, I just looked right before you came just so I could have it. There's like 1 million views that it has had from it, which is like, wow, you know, okay, God, I heard you, you know. And so
I think your honesty is what really came across in that, because you're saying, you know, God, I really wasn't putting you at the top of my priority. You were so busy and consumed with everything else that was going on.
Well, and I just think it's really easy. I mean, whether it's farming or kids or our lives are so busy, whatever it is, it's so easy to get caught up in our busyness to not put God first. And then all of a sudden, you know, once you redirect your focus back to that, he's just like, I'm here.
That's right. Well, let's see your store. Why don't you take us to your store? So my sister made up your delicious beef bacon that you sell here, and I just loved it. And so what other products do you have here in your store? I know you're open on Fridays and Saturdays, some hours.
Yes, yep. So this is our farm store. We opened it about a year ago. Like I had said, I've been selling meat shipping for almost 3 or 4 years, but there wasn't really a convenient way that like the local community could purchase it.
Right.
So that's kind of why we brought this in here as like a one-stop shop farmers market type store, and for people to support local and to have
Right.
Iowa-made products. So obviously behind us you see our freezers and our fridge, so we have our own beef products, which you tried.
Right.
But we also we bring in pork and chicken from other local farms, and then we have our fridge that has milks, cheeses, produce, eggs here from our farm. Yeah, and then if you come over here, there's different options as far as like pastas and pancake mix, premixes, flours. We have tallow goods. We have spices and barbecue sauces and canned goods. This right here is generally full of baked goods every single week that my mom makes when we're open on Fridays and Saturdays. Really, yeah, it's either off of our farm or from different local farmers or businesses that are within an hour of Cascade. So it's just really cool to be able to showcase a wide variety of different products that are local.
On your webpage, you have the 3 F's:
Yeah.
faith, family, and farming. Could you just briefly talk about those elements of your philosophy of life, really?
Yeah, that's just really kind of how I try to live my life. I've grown up in a faith family, and faith has been a huge aspect of my life, and the F for faith kind of goes back to John 15:5. I'm the vine, you're the branches. If you remain in me, bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. It blew down last year, but there was a tree that like branched out. That was like the legendary spot on our farm, and actually it's the tree that's in our logo. That's what I incorporated it with. So that's kind of the faith aspect, the branches, and then obviously the farming part is the cattle. That's what I'm most passionate about, and it's definitely a family atmosphere around here. And so we are definitely a family farm that's raising.
And you take a little
this beef.
trip with you and you're also carrying another.
That's
little
right.
one,
Yep. So I have an 18-month-old that doesn't go to daycare. He farms with mom and dad every day, and another one due in 6 weeks. And so they just, I think it's the best way to grow up, and it's the best way to instill different values in them, and so they get to go with us every day.
So how can people find out more about Beringer Family Farms, and how could they order from this place?
Yeah, so Beringer Family Farms on Facebook and Instagram. That's kind of where I just share my day-to-day life, what we're doing, what's going on the farm. It's like when I started, and even still today, my main goal is just to be able to share the farm to plate story for consumers to be able to connect with a farmer if they have any questions about where their food's coming from and why it's raised. So that's just what I try to do. And then obviously still bringing in the whole faith aspect with it too, as much as I can. And then we also have a website, BeringerFamilyFarms.com, that you can either order our local products to pick up here, or you can order beef that we can ship.
So Craig, we're here at one of the farms you're helping to manage, and what are we looking at behind us here?
Yeah, so we've got a crop of commercial corn that's being grown right behind us, and then there's also a field of soybeans on this farm too. So about 200 acres total farmland that I manage for clients here.
Well, back in 2003, when you were a little boy,
Long time ago.
a long time ago, you now have your own children.
Yeah.
Second one on the way.
Right.
And we did this Faith in the Heartland series where we talked about the faith of farmers in the heartland. What are some of the values that you see growing up on a farm, and why you've always stayed connected to farming?
I think, the number one thing, and maybe it's cliche, that you think about is a strong work ethic when it comes to farming, especially growing up on a farm with livestock like we had. That's a day in and day out thing that there's no days off. Maybe not for me, but for my dad especially. That he was doing a lot of that hard work day after day. There's no days off because the livestock need tended to each and every day. But then there's long hours trying to get things done before rain comes or whatever that might be, that to push to get that done and be dedicated to your work. And I think the other thing that I think about is farming and agriculture can be kind of humbling. Because you have a lot of challenges that are thrown your way, whether it's a crop farm with Mother Nature might throw a natural disaster your way, or too much rainfall or not enough rainfall, or with livestock maybe animals get hurt or sick, and really I think part of that is how do you respond to adversity, is one of the things that I think being involved in farming and agriculture has taught me. And then ultimately, putting that trust into God's hands that He'll be provided for.
So every day you're out in His creation. And I think that in itself, I live in the city for the most part where EWTN is located. And it's just so refreshing to be out in the wide open spaces and to see all of the creation. But I think just the silence too. I actually sleep better here because it's so quiet here. And I think you can enter into God's presence maybe a little more easily, right, with that kind of environment.
Yeah.
So I would guess
agree.
tractor time like your dad talked about and those sorts of things that you experience God. How does your faith influence your own work in managing farms? And I'm sure, like you said, you're depending on God's providence. I'm sure you're looking for His guidance too for certain things you have to do.
Right. I would say that the Hertz organization in general has been founded on principles that that relate to faith as well. Strong integrity, honesty, and if you're living out the values of your faith, I think that translates to our work life too, because our clients are entrusting us to look after probably their most valuable and important asset that they own.
Right.
And to be good stewards of that.
Yes.
So it takes a lot of trust to build, to allow us to take that on for them. And I think faith is a big part of that, and how I've been able to be successful working with clients.
I believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. One of the ways that we come to know God is by contemplating the beauty of His creation. I hope you've enjoyed visiting the fertile fields and rolling hills of eastern Iowa and hearing the testimonies of faith in the heartland, and that your own faith has been strengthened too. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit.